Welcome to Debating Metal. My name is Kenneth Dean, the Dean of Metal. My co-host is Chris K. And today we're celebrating our 100th episode with a special guest. You've heard me talk about him several times, but today, for our 100th, we have him here in person, in the flesh, all the way from Miami, Florida. Please welcome my best friend, Matt. And to celebrate 100, we're doing Worst of First with Matt's favorite band, Motley Crue.
Motley Crue was and is one of the biggest and most infamous acts of the 80s glam scene. Today, Kenneth, Matt, and I are going to rank their 9 studio albums in order from worst to first. I can guarantee we're not going to agree on the rankings, but we'll have a debate to decide on the definitive final list.
And we're also going to offer our big 4 glam albums at the end, so you won't want to miss this one, as this time there's 3 big 4s to hear. So sit back, relax, turn it up to 11, and let the debate begin. Motley Crue, Worst of First. Welcome, Matt. How are you?
What's up, guys? How you doing? It is great to be here. First off, I got to say congratulations being 100 episodes into this. I remember when it was started. I'm glad to be here for the 100th. Thank you for having me. Guys, you're doing great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so Motley Crue is your favorite band.
Absolutely.
And so that was basically that's our tribute to you to be able to bring you in on this episode and bring you our Motley Crue's Worst of First. So why don't you go ahead and give us what your Worst of First Motley Crue albums are? So you start us off with that.
Right.
And you're going from 9 to 1.
I'll go from 9 to 1.
And you can tell us a little bit about each album and how you feel about it.
No problem at all. All right. So here we go. Motley Crue, Worst of First from Matt. Number 9, New Tattoo. Number 8, Dr. Feelgood. Number 7, Saints of Los Angeles. Number 6, Motley Crue, the self-titled with Karabi. Number 5, Generation Swine. And then from there, we just go backwards. Number 4, Girls, Girls, Girls. 3 is Theater of Pain. 2, Shout at the Devil, and my own personal favorite Motley Crue album, Too Fast for Love. And that's my Worst of First.
Wow, that's definitely a surprise. I did not see Dr. Feelgood coming.
I can't stand the album. I'm sorry.
Really?
I do not like that album.
It's definitely a bit of a surprise. When I think when you said Dr. Feelgood as number 8, I think my eyes kind of popped out of my head a little bit.
And I tell you, because I don't feel that way about the album.
Sure.
You know, yeah, it definitely does have its issues, and we talked about that when we did Shout at the Devil versus Dr. Feelgood.
Okay.
But I didn't think it was that bad. For you to put Generation Swine that way ahead of it.
Generation Swine's a great album.
It's not.
If you guys go on Spotify, I made up a playlist.
Dude,
Generation
that
Swine
fucking
Gore.
painful.
Oh, that album's not fucking painful.
Painful.
Oh, no. That's a great album. Check out my list. I took it, I dissected, I made it an EP. That album as an EP is incredible. I would move it up higher, except, you know, you got to go with the classics.
Dude, I'd rather listen to Motley Crue's Motley Crue album all day long over Generation Swine.
Well, that's...
Well, why don't you give us your
All
list and tell us the order you want to listen to?
So here's my Motley Crue's Worst of First list. All right, number 9, Generation Swine. It wasn't making anywhere near the top of the list. Number 8 was New Tattoo. Number 7 was Saints of Los Angeles. Number 6 was Motley Crue, the self-titled album with John Karabi. Number 5, Girls, Girls, Girls. Number 4, Dr. Feelgood. Number 3, Theater of Pain. Number 2, Too Fast for Love. And number 1, Shout at the Devil. That's my 9. Chris, what do you got?
All right. So, starting with my number 9, I've got Generation Swine. Number 8, Motley Crue. Number 7, New Tattoo. Number 6, Saints of Los Angeles. Number 5, Theater of Pain. Number 4, Girls, Girls, Girls. Number 3, Dr. Feelgood. Number 2, Too Fast for Love. And number 1, Shout at the Devil.
Okay, so see, we have some similarities there.
Some similarities, but every one of our lists is different.
Yeah, every one of our lists is different. All right, so this is where the debate begins. We have a couple of...
Well, we got to start with number 9, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna.
All right. So we have
This one's going to be a
It's
tough
two
one.
swines to a new tattoo.
we have two swines to a new tattoo.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
I
let's
want to
about
hear what
that.
Matt has to say about Swine. Why you think Swine's so good?
I think Swine is a good album with a lot of filler that needs to be cut out of it. If you take out your bittersweet, you take out... There's just a lot of filler on that song that does not need to be there. Okay, so if you take off Glitter, you remove Rocket Ship, you take out that stupid song Brandon, you have, 8 songs that are awesome.
The funny thing is the band themselves thinks Glitter is the good song from that album.
I don't care. This is not their debate. They are not here. They did not come out to debating metal. Matt
No,
did.
but that's the funny thing, though. Like, they actually included it on one of their 7 greatest hits albums that
absolutely.
they have. But that's like the only song.
They have almost as many greatest hits albums as they do albums. It's crazy.
You
That's
take,
so true.
like, Find Myself, the very first song on the album. How does it begin? What's the first word on it? Destroy. You know why that's on there?
Because they're trying to destroy their careers.
The last song they did with Vince, that was the first song that they did once Vince Neil was back in the band. The last song they did with Vince Neil before he left was Anarchy in the UK. Last words on that was Destroy. That's why they started it the way they did.
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned that, because the one thing about Generation Swine and that particular song, Find Myself, that to me is like a mini tribute to the Sex Pistols, because it sounds like a Sex Pistols punk song.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, kind
and
of,
I
yeah.
did find myself saying that is one of the better songs on the album, but after that, it literally went downhill fast as fuck.
Afraid's a great single.
No, it's not.
Oh, come on.
It's terrible.
It's better than Dr. Feelgood. No, it's not.
So,
No, it's not.
It's better than Without You.
so I didn't really care for any of the singles, to be honest. I did try them. It wasn't something that really sunk in. And I think my biggest problem with Generation Swine is you have a production that started with John Corabi, and then you have Vince come in later into production, and yeah, they work together on a few songs, but for the most part, it's not really his voice. He's coming in and singing songs that were written for a different lineup of the band. And that it's not always a problem, but in some instances, it does feel a bit out of, like he's a fish out of water, because he's coming into 1997 Motley Crue, and he has a voice of 1987 Motley Crue. You know?
I'll take the 87 Motley Crue. I mean, to me, the best song on Generation Swine was their re-recording of Shout at the Devil.
Wow.
So the other thing is, like, you can tell, like, you know it's a troubled production. There's issues between Mick Mars and Scott Humphrey, who's the producer. They're frustrated because of what they expected to happen with the Motley Crue self-titled album and what actually happened. And for me, all I hear when I'm listening to it is kind of like that disarray, and it's like it just doesn't have a solid, cohesive voice.
Yeah, my issue with it was, to me, I felt like it was just all over the place. Like, it was trying to be punk, it was trying to be industrial, it thought it could be grunge, it was tinging on new metal. It was just like, what do we want to do here? And instead of just staying true to their Motley Crue selves, they went in a different direction, and it was like 4 different directions.
To kind of back what you said, it was released in 1997. So if you look at what was going on in 1997, it's almost like they were trying to stay relevant while still throwing back to Motley Crue.
Yeah.
You had Gravity Kills. You had a lot of industrial acts around that time, which was kind of where they were going, which is why they used Scott Humphreys the way they did.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right. There's nothing to disagree with on that comment. It's just that to me, the songs didn't live up to anything that Motley Crue had in the past.
Shout at the Devil does never need to be covered.
By themselves.
By themselves.
An industrial version.
Industrial version doesn't need to be there.
But it was still, to me, the best song on the album. All right, so we had 2 Swines and you had New Tattoo. So we're close, because I think Chris, you had New Tattoo at number 7. I had New Tattoo at number 8. So we literally had it at 7, 8, and 9.
7, 8, and 9, yeah. So why don't we talk about New Tattoo next? I think for the time being, we kind of have to place Generation Swine last. It doesn't necessarily mean that's where it's going to end up, but let's talk about
We
New
can
Tattoo.
negotiate.
Yeah.
All right, wait. Before we do anything, before we continue, I have to say cheers to my buddy Matt for being here. And we're opening up a can of beer. Houston's own Carbach Brewing.
Told me open a cold one.
There you go. Cheers, man. So, new tattoo. To me, that is Motley Crue trying to be Motley Crue. And that's why I put it one step above Generation Swine. Because that's really all that was quality about it.
To me, there's also that sense of, like, now that Vince is officially back in the band, they're trying to kind of appeal to a little bit of that nostalgia factor, the sound. The only thing that's kind of weird is the drums not being Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee is such a important factor of Motley Crue's sound. He has an interesting way of drumming. And it's one of those things, like some bands, when you hear a band, like you just expect certain members because of the way they play. And that's what kind of throws it off for me. But it's like a renewed tone. They went back to what they sounded like to a degree while maintaining kind of the heaviness that was introduced in the last couple albums.
I get you on that, and I agree with you on that. I can't argue with you. Just to me, the songs are weak. The 3 songs I like on that album are going to be White Punks on Dope, which is a cover song from the Tubes. You have Fake, and you have Porno Star, which there's a demo floating around, with... Fuck it, I don't like anything on that album.
No, I mean, there's a demo floating around somewhere.
You can get a demo for Porno Star, and I think it was Fake was the other 2 demos you can get your hands on, which the production is a lot louder. It's more Motley Crue. It sounds a lot earlier than it actually was.
I mean, to me, what I liked, quote unquote, about New Tattoo is the fact that they were trying to be Motley Crue. Like, I mean, mind you, this came out in 2000, right? So it's not like, the music scene changed in such a way that, oh, now we're more accepting of glam metal, hair metal bands from the 80s. They literally said, you know what, this is who we are. We're Motley Crue, and they tried to make a Motley Crue album. They had Vince Neil back in the band full time, and it just, I guess over the years, Nikki Sixx has literally ran out of ideas.
Oh, absolutely.
And he hasn't really come up with anything really, really good.
Yeah,
because
it's just one of those things. Like it's not really a Motley Crue album, like Matt mentioned. It's got 6 a.m. all over it, and that's kind of the biggest problem, is because you can tell after Vince came back into the band, this is not Motley Crue being Motley Crue. They're not a cohesive unit. They're not sitting down and writing music together. That's the biggest problem. It just doesn't feel. It feels like they're trying to write a Motley Crue album, or somebody else is trying to write a Motley Crue album for them. Is probably the best way to put it. To me, it still sounds more like Motley Crue than Generation Swine does, but that's kind of because you're going into the they're a nostalgia act at this point almost.
Yeah,
if they had progressed and continued on with John Crosby, it might be a different thing. You might say, well, there's 2 distinct eras of Motley Crue, where the first era is the glam, and then after that is the alternative rock beyond that. But they didn't, and they kind of went backwards, and that's why Tommy Lee left the band. Is because they were going backwards towards what they were before. And even then, they didn't have the members. So it's not a good album. It's just not. I mean, what's the only real song that you could consider a Motley Crue song is Hell on High Heels, because it's actually written by members of the band.
Yeah, Mick Mars.
Yeah, Mick Mars, Vince Neil, and Nikki Sixx.
Right. I thought that was a pretty decent song. Again, it was, to me, it's like, you go through the whole career and you got these weak Motley Crue songs, and that one's in there, but at least it's a Motley Crue song. It sounds like something that could have easily been, earlier in their career. All right, so we're still at 9 and 8.
Hold on, let me go back to New Tattoo real quick.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys knew it or not, but the album cover is actually a backhanded response to Bruce Dickinson's Tattooed Millionaire.
Oh, really? Why?
Absolutely. Well, you know, Tattooed Millionaire was backhanded slap at Vince Neil.
Oh, was it?
Absolutely. The song was written about Vince Neil. So their response was to put a tattoo needle on the front cover of it, just as their own little backhanded, quiet response to Bruce Dickinson calling him out like that.
No.
So which album's better? Tattooed Millionaire or New Tattoo?
Oh, God.
I don't even think we have to answer that one.
That's a whole new show.
Yeah. Let's do that. Versus.
That's a whole new podcast.
Yeah. All right. So,
So for right now, I would think we've got New Tattoo at number 8 and Generation Swine at number 9, or is there an argument to say flip those?
well, it's funny because I believe all three of us picked. Two of Matt and I had Saints of Los Angeles at number 7, and you had it at 6.
Well, before we move on to Saints, the reason why I said do we flip these is because we're talking about it, and there's almost kind of a more negative connotation towards New Tattoo than Generation Swine.
Well, that's because Matt likes Generation Swine. I don't like Generation Swine at all.
But you do like some stuff off of New Tattoo.
I definitely think New Tattoo is a better album than Generation Swine.
Have you ever heard New Tattoo?
Yes, I listened to it incessantly on Monday and Tuesday of last week, and I was like, I was actually listening to Generation Swine in my car, and
No, that's a good drive.
No, it was horrible. It was like almost ran off the side of the fucking road. Actually, and then I'm listening to it on the way to one of my games, and on the way back from one again, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm torturing myself with this shit. Okay, so that's how bad I felt. All
right, so number 9, what are we going to put? You want to put New Tattoo or you want to put Swine? I'm going to give you Swine at number 9. We'll put New Tattoo at number 8.
I think that's
right,
where we're going
advantage.
for now. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, we all had pretty close to 7. You two had Saints of Los Angeles at 7. I had it at 6. Let's talk about it.
I like that song, Saints of Los Angeles. I think that's like really, really going back to what Motley Crue was all about when they did that song. And I like the fact that it's almost kind of like a biographical type of song. But the rest of the album doesn't relate at all.
I don't know if I agree with you. I mean, it is definitely a 6 a.m. album all the way across the board. I don't even know if Tommy's on there. Mick's definitely not on it. It's definitely DJ Ashba production. You may get Mick riffs and licks here and there, as they claim. The song itself, Saints of Los Angeles, yeah, it's a good song. Other songs I like on there, Face Down in the Dirt, Down at the Whiskey, Motherfucker of the Year. There is some still standard Motley Crue cheese you're going to find on there. Chicks Equal Trouble is a terrible song, but there it is looking at you in all its glory.
Yeah, it feels like Motley Crue, though. Like the lyrics,
know it's Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I know Mick Mars was involved with some of the songs, but yeah, there's always a question of how much. So, yeah, I think you're right on point there. This is a 6 a.m. album, but that being said, Nicky Sixx has always been the primary songwriter, and he's working with guys he's comfortable with. Obviously, they don't have the same connection within the actual Motley Crue band. They don't have the dynamic anymore of working together. And, again, they're a nostalgia act at this point. So, I think there's more good songs on this one than there are on the last two we talked about, and it has a better production quality. I would say, like the actual mixing sounds better to me.
Oh, I agree with you there. It's the best production they've had in years.
Yeah,
maybe even since Dr. Feelgood.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Saints of Los Angeles is pretty good.
We'll talk about that with the Motley Crue album itself. The production is something to be remarked about, but. Yeah, you might be right, though.
So I think in this particular case, I think Saints definitely slides itself into number 7.
Okay.
We'll
put it there for right now, but
now
it's probably going to stay there.
Right. Now, you had Motley Crue, the self-titled album, at number 8. I have it at number 6. No, excuse me. Yeah, I have it at number 6, and Matt has it at number 6.
Okay.
So it's probably going to fit itself into that number 6 hole, but let's talk about that album. I know Matt likes this album.
I love that album.
I can't stand this album.
I love that album.
I don't know what it is that you like about this album.
The production, the sound. I mean, it is the biggest
that I can't take away because it's a Bob Rock album. And Bob Rock is great production, but production doesn't mean equal good songs. Production doesn't mean it's going to be a radio hit.
Again, I put Dr. Feelgood at number 2. I was over it. I was over the entire thing. Done. And then you have John Corabi coming in, which is a totally fresh voice for Motley Crue. I mean, it's not a great voice, but it's an entirely new sound. You add a second guitar to Motley Crue, and next thing you know, you have a bare bone stripped down version of a band doing what I always wanted to hear them to do. And you put that production on there, those drums are the biggest things I've ever heard. Nicky sounds like he can actually play. I mean, to me, I like the album. The songs aren't the strongest, but the sound of it, I can listen to that album all day, no problem.
See, and I have no problem with the sound of this album because I like the way that Bob Rock makes albums. He has a very unique way of being able to put every little nuance in and be able to hear it, especially with the mixing, and the bass always sounds great on a Bob Rock album. The drums always sound great in a Bob Rock album. Guitars are always up front. I mean, he's a master producer, but that doesn't take away the fact, or that doesn't help the fact that this album has bad songs on it. To me, Hooligan's Holiday is the best song on the album.
Oh,
that's the best single. That's the best Motley Crue song on the album. I mean, that one actually sounds like it's Motley Crue, and I like the fact that John Corabi's singing on there. I mean, I think he does a great job. And if they had done like Van Halen, where they decided, okay, this guy's going to be our singer, we're going to move on with our career, we're going to keep this sound that we had that they created with Feelgood and they kept with Hooligan's Holiday. If they keep that sound and they can come up with some better songs, I think they have a good career.
Well, I mean, there's something you said for the time that it came out. This is an album that came out in 1994, following an album that came out in 1989. So, 1994, we're already past Nirvana's Nevermind. So there's a different mindset in the fandom of music. There's a complete just sea change of what's going on. So them coming in and saying, we're going to create a hard rock alternative album. They have a different singer with, kind of, what's Extreme's singer?
Gary
Cherone-esque voice, or even has aspects of Sammy Hagar in the way he has that kind of pinched vocal.
I think I would see Sammy a lot more than Cherone in Corabi's voice because he has that little rasp to him.
Yeah, well, so does Gary Cherone. But regardless, you get my point. Like it's a different band, and if it was viewed under the eyes of or the lens of a different band entirely than being Motley Crue, it would maybe be viewed differently. The songs aren't that bad. It's just not particularly my style. I'm not a big alternative rock guy, but the production's very good. And at least they were trying something different, and they were being honest to themselves as musicians. This is the last Motley Crue album where Motley Crue worked together as a band. So
that is true.
That's a positive.
You refer to Corabi more as a Gary Cherone. I think he's closer to a Tom Kiefer in my own opinion. He's closer to a Kiefer, a Dizzy Dean Davidson, which are all throwbacks really to Janis Joplin. Not that John Corabi is Janis Joplin in any way, shape, or form, but that style right there was just an entirely new sound. And like you said, it was after Nirvana. I mean, people are used to the mumbled lyrics. I can't tell you a damn word that John Corabi says on that album. Hooligan's Holiday, I think, is the only lyric you can make out on there. Not misunderstood.
You can understand Uncle Jack. And it's funny because Uncle Jack, like, there's something about every song on here that it could be a good song, and it just doesn't get there. It's like it cuts you off at the knees.
Poison Apple is a great song. Smoke the Sky is okay. Misunderstood is a great song. Very well written. Play around with your balance on there. Mess with the left and the right in the EQ. You have two different songs towards the second half of that.
My shit's electronic. I can't drive and change that shit at the same time.
Why not? So here's the thing. Like
that's why you have Metallica everywhere. You can't change that shit.
You have a band that is kind of finding themselves. They're they're happy with their chemistry, but it doesn't hit, and that's the problem. So you have everybody becoming frustrated because maybe Mick Mars wasn't happy with kind of taking a step back a little bit, because he's always been, I want to be the only guitarist. I want to be in the focus. And you have issues boiling up in the production, and that carries over into Generation Swine. So there's never a chance where Motley Crue as this form was ever going to be successful, because there's just too many outside factors that were, breaking them down.
And it doesn't help that Vince Neil was off doing his own solo tour, selling out larger venues than he was, or at least opening for larger shows than they were.
Exactly.
Because he sounds like Motley Crue.
And he was playing Motley Crue songs, and I mean, let's be real, he might have been putting out a better show. He might have had a better prog than Motley Crue did at that point.
Yeah.
Anywhere There's Lights tour, I mean, shit, they were playing sheds with, 50 people in there, open the doors, and they were get on the radio in the morning, come on down.
There was a few bands in the 90s that were able to subsist with the metal sound, or the hair metal sound, Poison and Motley, or I mean, not Motley Crue, but Vince Neil was able to do that. And they're doing something different, trying to survive. So, yeah, I can understand the frustration.
Because what did Vince do? He went out and he got himself a better guitarist. No disrespect to Mick Mars. Steve Stevens was an upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was going out there and they're playing Motley. He was doing cover songs.
Who's his guitar player now?
Mick Mars.
No. No, when his solo stuff.
Let me see. Last time he had Jason Hook and...
Because on bass he has the dude from Slaughter.
Dana Strum. He has... who's on drums?
Isn't it the other Slaughter?
Bam went to... He's the guy with the showmanship.
Isn't it Blas Elias?
No, that was Slaughter.
Didn't he die?
Blas Elias? No, he's doing Blue Man
Who's the
Group.
guy from Slaughter who died?
The guitarist, Tim Kelly.
Oh, okay. I knew he was one of those guys. I thought Blas was his drummer. Well, maybe not. Don't matter. All right, so...
Regardless, we're pretty concrete in putting Motley Crue as number 6.
Yeah, I think that it slides in nicely at the number 6 spot.
Because honestly, I'm even arguing against myself in my placement of putting it at 8. It's just one of those things. Like it doesn't feel particularly Motley Crue in their catalog, but if you think of it in context of when it came out, it makes sense.
Right. So now we get to the albums that are true Motley Crue albums, and now we get to put those in order. And so you, Chris, had Theater Pain at number 5. Matt had Generation Swine at number 5. We already put that in this place.
Sorry, I displaced Dr. Feelgood.
And I had Girls, Girls, Girls. So
we're all over the board here.
Yeah, and so I had Theater at number 3, and
I had Theater at 3.
You had Theater at 3.
So let's talk about Girls, Girls, Girls then, because you placed it the lowest. Matt and I have it at 4.
Okay. Girls, I put what? I put Girls at 5. Okay, and you guys had it at 4. Okay. I don't. For me, Girls, Girls, Girls. I don't know. It's just like coming off of Theater Pain, which was such a huge album because of first it was Smoking in the Boys Room, which was a good lead single. Then they bring it home with Home Sweet Home, which was just established the power ballad as the prime driving factor of putting a ballad on an album. I mean, it crossed over everywhere. And then they had some other. They had some good songs in there. I like Louder Than Hell. I think that's a really good song. There was let's see, what's the other song that was on there that I really like? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Theater.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Girls. Well, I'm talking coming off of Theater. You know, what was the other song that was on Theater that I liked a lot? Louder Than Hell. Oh, Keep Your Eye on the Money is pretty good. So then when you get to Girls, 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 I mean, really, in my opinion, you got Wild Side, great song. Girls, 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 great song. Obviously, that became like the number one stripper song in the country. But to me, after that, they really don't do anything as far as getting a really good song. I mean, I know Matt's opinion probably differs dramatically from mine, but I mean, they try to do another single with You're All I Need, and it just didn't quite get there. It wasn't a Home Sweet Home type of song. Didn't have the same impact. After that, you know, the rest of the songs are just kind of all over the place.
Like you said, I'm going to disagree with you all over the place. I'm going to walk all over you. Girls album, I mean, they follow the same formula they did during Theater of Pain. It's an album of filler with 2 good songs that they're lucky they were able to get printed. Wild Side, Girls, classics. The album, if you take Jailhouse Rock off the end of that thing, that is a 35-minute record.
Why is Jailhouse Rock on there? A live cover version?
Because somebody wanted a 40-minute record.
Jeez.
Album was produced by Tom Mormon in 1987. To me, they flipped their image. They took the Theater of Pain where they were starting to go glam, and then they flipped over to a biker look. I wasn't cool with the image, but it's a great album. I'm happy with it.
So, as a whole, I think it kind of goes back to more of the rough edge that they had with the first 2 albums. You know, with Theater Pain, they went a little more glammy, a little softer. This kind of adds that edge back in. Yeah, Wild Side, Girls, Girls, Girls. Fantastic songs. Staples. You know, it leads off the album. And that's really a lot of times all you need to sell an album. You need 1 or 2 good songs. You're All I Need wasn't bad. Something for Nothing wasn't bad. I think as a whole, I feel it's pretty cohesive. It feels like one album, which is always kind of important. Like if you're a person that just puts a CD on, or you know, you're more advanced than CDs and use digital, then it's one you can just kind of listen to all the way through. So that's why I put it above Theater of Pain. I didn't like the softer sound of Theater of Pain as much. I feel like it was a little more produced, which, you know, for a band like Motley Crue that is, you know, rough and nasty, to me that's a step back. The best thing about Theater of Pain to me was the guitar work from Mick Mars, even though it's too pushed back in the mix. If it had been pushed forward, I think the overall sound would be better. You know, they had a lot of issues going on in that album, and that's stuff that they put aside to when they recorded Girls, Girls, Girls. Sounds better. You know, I just think it feels more like Motley Crue. Yeah, there's certain songs. Smoking in the Boys' Room is fine. Home Sweet Home is a staple. It's a classic, but it's kind of soft compared to the other albums around it.
I mean, since we're going over Theater of Pain, yeah, I agree with you. The production is just way too slick, way too smooth. If you want to look at it that way, it's way overproduced.
Yeah,
you know, Tom Werman did Shout, Tom Werman did Theater, and Tom Werman did Girls, Girls, Girls. And Shout and Girls, Girls, Girls are more alike in production than they are to Theater. Theater's way too slick.
Yeah, I mean, that's my problem with it.
A song like Louder Than Hell, if it had the production that Girls, Girls, Girls had, I mean, that song would sound so much more powerful. I think all these songs probably sound that much better if they have the production of Girls or even Shout. So that's where, but I think the songs still hold up better for me on this one than they do on Girls, Girls, Girls. So that's why I had it higher ranked than Girls. But you guys both agreed together that Girls, you know, should rank higher than Theater. So I'm willing to go ahead and let Theater go to number 5.
What do you think, Matt?
Theater go to 5. I actually have Theater at 3.
Both of you have it at 3.
I have Theater at 3.
So
I'm
the
not
question
gonna
is Dr. Feelgood. We're all over the board on that one.
Dr. Feelgood's number 8.
All right, so let's talk about Feel Good real quick here. Okay,
I'm over it.
Feel Good. See, that's a thing. As a fan, and I know you're a huge fan of Crew. As a fan of Crew, that's one of those things you just hear it a million times and you're done
Correct,
with it.
I'm done.
Right. So
It's like the Black Album. I never need to hear the Black Album again. If I never hear Enter Sandman, I'm fine. No problem.
Right. So that's
I'm
what
the
you
same.
have to.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I agree, but you have to step back and you have to say to yourself, all right. So let's really, really take a look at the quality of the songs and the production versus the quality in the songs and the production of the other albums that we're trying to compare it to. Okay. And so for me, I put Feel Good at number 4. All right. Feel Good to me.
You're generous.
Well, more generous than you. I mean, Feel Good, the song is good. Kickstart My Heart is good. Without You, I like Same Old Situation. And I like Don't Go Away Mad. I mean, that's already, 4 or 5 songs in. After that, yes. I mean, Slice of Your Pie was just like, what the hell is this? Rattlesnake Shake, Sticky Sweet. It's like, come on, really? Now, the funny thing about
Change.
So the funny thing about Time for Change is, we did the episode way back when on Shout at the Devil versus Dr. Feelgood, and Time for Change. At the same time we did that episode, got into a commercial. It was licensed for a Delta commercial, Delta Faucets. And I'm like, really? That song? You picked
right,
that
it was
song?
Delta Faucets.
Right? And I'm like, after I bashed the crap out of that song on the episode, they're putting it on a commercial.
Yeah.
It was, I didn't think it was that good of a song.
It's probably the cheapest one to get licensed.
Yeah, probably. So I mean, look, hands down, the production is amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
Tommy's drums are incredible.
Tommy's drums are incredible.
That's one of the biggest things, yeah.
Yeah, mixed guitars sound awesome.
Agreed.
Okay, Kickstart My Heart is my favorite Motley Crue song from top to bottom. I love that song. I love the intro. I love the whole. There's a little bit of a biographical element to that song. The whole thing, and it was almost like a premonition going into the fact that this album ended a cycle for Motley Crue, that they kind of tried to keep going when they did Decade of Decadence, but every time a band puts out a greatest hits album, that's the end of that chapter, and it's going to be like the next chapter is going to just
Have a new singer.
flip something on their head, and in this particular case, it was a new singer.
Call Blaze.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God. Can you imagine Blaze fronting Motley Crue? All kinds of wrong.
Speaking of which, we're talking about, we always talk about how people live off their legacy. So Paul Di'Anno's got a new band and he's got a new album coming out. And his picture that he took with the 3 new guys has an Iron Maiden. He has like an Iron Maiden type of tribute shirt on. I'm like, really? Just stop. All right. Anyway.
I'm just glad he's alive and kicking and able to put out a new album. So
that is true. So Dr. Feelgood, what is Matt's feelings about Dr. Feelgood?
All right, my notes on Dr. Feelgood. Let me start there. My note I wrote on Dr. Feelgood: none. Fuck that.
So he has no notes, he has no feelings, and fuck that.
I'm tired of it. It sounds great. Tommy's drums, to me, just the songs are generic. Yes, you got Dr. Feelgood, which is an incredible song. Kickstart My Heart, you went over. That's a great song. Don't Go Away Mad, it's mediocre. It's a Rod Stewart ripoff. You've got She Goes Down. I mean, that's average for 1985, 87. But the rest of that album is just filler, and it's overdone, and it was just in your face and would not go away.
You think Same Old Situation's filler?
I think Same Old Situation is filler. I think that's a song they got a great recording on. They got great backing tracks, and that's why they play it live. They played it live for years because they paid good money to do it, and it's not going anywhere.
Because it's got a good melody.
And Vince Neil knows how to play it.
So we went over this when we did our head-to-head, and I'm not a big fan of Dr. Feelgood. Even though I placed it at number 3, it's based on, it's a 6-time platinum album. it's very well produced. Everybody sounds good. The songs are memorable. It kind of embodies the decadence of glam and hair metal. Like, to me, it's like a bookend almost. You're at 1989. Things are about to change in 2 years, and this is like one of those last great glam metal albums. And so, in that regard, like thinking of it in that respect, I think it deserves a higher rank because of what it represents and how good of an album it technically is. For me, I'm not a big fan. I think Dr. Feelgood is all right. I think Kickstart My Heart is an awesome song, but everything else, to me, it's okay. Same old situation you asked about. Nah, I don't like it. It's like a Poison song.
All right, so do you want to drop it in the rankings down to 5?
8.
That's kind of splitting the difference, honestly, between the 8 and the 3.
Okay, so if we put that one at 5, we still got Girls in Theater to put at 3 and 4.
So, Matt, I want to hear your opinion on Theater because we didn't really go over that.
Theater to me is a very muffled sounding album. I love that album. I never listened to Smoking in the Boys Room anymore. There's no need for it. It's like hearing Dr. Feelgood again. I'm going to change the channel if it comes on.
Yeah.
But you got City Boy Blues. What a great way to start an album. Just the intro and the way it kicks in, you're getting into a Motley Crue album. It's not your Shout at the Devil Motley, but it's still Motley Crue. You smell the sleaze on it just from the jump of the album.
That is a sleazy sounding album.
It is. They were sleaze at that point. Take Side 2. I mean, I remember watching wrestling and you had Lex Luger coming out to Use It or Lose It. I'm like, I heard it somewhere and it was just loud. To me, the album, I just enjoy that one.
Okay. So, you guys have Theater above it. I'm not going to win that argument. So I think we got to go number 5, Dr. Feelgood. Number 4, Girls, Girls, Girls. And number 3, Theater Pain. Fair?
You good with that, Matt?
I'm fine with that.
All right, so number 4 is Girls.
So now we've got 2 left.
Okay, so number 2 and number 1... I knew it was going to come down to Shout at the Devil and to Too Fast for Love. So both you and I, Chris, have Too Fast for Love at number 2, and Matt has it at number 1. And he has Shout at number 2, compared to our Shout at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go over Too Fast for Love. And well, let's go both at the same time. Basically, we're talking about the first 2 Motley Crue albums. Okay, Too Fast for Love, in my opinion, it's obviously Motley Crue, the infancy stage of Motley Crue. There's leaps and bounds, more maturity in the songwriting to go from Too Fast for Love all the way to Shout at the Devil. I mean, it's like 2 different bands almost. And I was even confused because Vince Neil, you know how he loves to change his voice from album to album. It was so much harder, so much angrier than Too Fast for Love. That's what I like about Shout at the Devil. I liked it. I mean, both albums have great songs front to back, but I like the angriness. I like the harder edge of Shout over Too Fast for Love. And that's my opinion.
I like the imagery of Shout at the Devil. I mean, I love Shout at the Devil. If you told me we had to flip it the other way, Shout's going number 1, I would have no problem with that at all. To me, I just kept the Motley Crue respect. Number 1 was Too Fast, number 2 was Shout. I mean, I can't flip between either one of them. Too Fast for Love, originally recorded on Leather Records, which was owned by Roy Thomas Baker. You might know him from No Rest for the Wicked, also Dangerous Toys, Hellacious Acres he did.
He did Hellacious Acres?
Yep, he did a lot of Queen
I'm gonna
stuff.
Throw that shit away.
Yeah, that's a good album. Avi Kipper got a hold of the Leather Record. No, Avi recorded it, and then it was Roy Thomas Baker who got his hands on it and made it the Electra version of it. Too Fast for Love. I just love the rawness of it. That album to me is raw sounding. Vince sounds primitive as you're ever going to get on him. Tommy, you just hear a young kid who doesn't know what to do with what he has. To me, the album's all over the place. I love it. It's a mess. It's great. Shout at the Devil is definitely a more refined album. It's definitely more polished. You can tell they've been out on the road. You can tell, Ozzy, they've been out there with pros. So to me, once they got a hold of Shout at the Devil, they kind of knew what they were doing. They took their imagery, they flipped it, they actually gave themselves an image. And they put out one hell of an album. They made it all over MTV. You couldn't turn on MTV without seeing them there for a minute. You had Too Young to Fall in Love, which to me, I think I like better than... what was the first song they had?
Looks to Kill?
Yes, I like that one better than Looks to Kill. Maybe it's because I heard Looks to Kill enough times, but that's where I'm at with that.
I mean, I heard Too Young to Fall in Love so many times from MTV, and it was just like every time I turned MTV on, I saw it. All I see is Tommy Lee walking through Chinatown,
fighting a Navy.
So to me, I mean, I like the song. It's a great song. I like Looks That Kill. There's other songs on that album I like more. But what do you have to say about it, Chris?
So I think with Too Fast for Love, like it has a few really, really strong standouts, like Livewire, Stick to Your Guns. But overall, Shout at the Devil has almost the full album is a standout. Red Hot, Shout at the Devil, Looks to Kill, Too Young to Fall in Love, Knock 'Em Dead Kid, even the cover of Helter Skelter, 10 Seconds to Love is great. It's great all the way through. The vocals are stronger from Vince, really highly memorable riffs, and it's a heavier album. There's the rawness of Too Fast for Love, which is always something that I enjoy. You can hear that passion in young musicians a lot of times when they have their first album because they're trying to make it. But I don't think, just within the couple years, even though they are, like you said, a little more road traveled, I don't think they've reached that point where, like with the next couple albums, they're stars at that point. They're still not quite there yet with this album. So there's still a little bit of that rawness, even though it's more refined. And it just kind of exemplifies everything that Motley Crue would be and is at this time. So I think it's the stronger album of the two for sure.
What say you, Matt? You said you were willing to flip.
Can we push Doctor down a couple notches?
Well, Doctor's already down to 5.
Let's put that at 6 and I'll flip it.
We split the difference on that.
That's fine. I'll take Shout at number 1. There's no problem saying Shout at the Devil is Motley Crue's best album. I don't think anybody out there could argue with you for saying, and Too Fast for Love is number 2. I go with that.
The other thing is, like, where Shout at the Devil is, you hear all those songs all the time, and the same thing with Dr. Feelgood, but which one feels more timeless?
Shout at the Devil, absolutely.
By far.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Shout at the Devil that I love the attitude behind it. Like when you listen to Too Fast for Love, you can hear a band that's still trying to find their way because they have different directions which certain songs go in. But I agree with Chris. There's a focus and a singularity about Shout at the Devil where you know that this is where they were focused on and they went for it. Image. Songs, they're all heavy. That they're all angry. Even too
their
Too
Live
Young
Show.
to Fall in Love.
Even their
If you
Live
think
Show.
about it, was kind of an angry song.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I love it. Yeah, that's why I like that song. So for me, that's why I had put it at number 1.
All right, so I think we have our final list. Are we all in kind of agreement?
I think we are.
Matt,
I think we agree.
Other than Feelgood and Generation Swine.
Swine's a great album. Feelgood sucks.
All right. So we have come to an agreement of some sort with the 9 Motley Crue studio albums. So at number 9 we have Generation Swine. Number 8 New Tattoo. Number 7 Saints of Los Angeles. Number 6 Motley Crue. Number 5 Dr. Feelgood. Number 4 Girls, Girls, Girls. Number 3 Theater of Pain. Number 2 Too Fast for Love. And number 1 Shout at the Devil. I think we're good with that.
I'll agree with you.
Let's roll with it.
All right, cool. Well, that's our worst to first Motley Crue. So that now brings us to our big 4. And this big 4 this week, man, it took us a while to get to this big 4, but we got big 4 glam albums. And I know the three of us, are going to be all over the place in picking these big fours. And I don't think there's going to be too many crossover albums on this list of the three of us. So, who wants to go first?
Chris, go for it.
All right. So my number 4, I've got Whitesnake, the self-titled album from 1987. When I think of glam, that's one of those iconic albums that it just has great songs on it. It has The Image. You have Tawny Katane, which is just always tied to that album. It's late in the era, but at the same time, I think it's like the penultimate time of that genre. My number 3 is Tooth and Nail from Dokken. Dokken, it's funny, they're a band I've never really been a huge fan of, but this album is tied to my favorite Freddy movie, and I've just always listening to the songs off of this particular album. Now that we've done a little bit more on it on our previous episodes where we did a head-to-head, I've come to appreciate more Dokken songs than I used to, but this one's just one that I've always enjoyed. My number 2 is Shout at the Devil. We just talked about it for all the reasons we mentioned. It's a great album. And my number 1 is Skid Row's Skid Row. Now, it's the very end of glam, to be honest, but I remember when that album came out, and I saw them on Saturday Night Live, and every song was just so cool. They'd get heavier with Slave to the Grind, but this was, Slave to the Grind was not really as much of a glam album. This was. And, I still listen to this album fairly regularly to this day.
I know you're a big fan of that album, so I am too. I think front to back, 1 to 10 or whatever you want to call it, however many songs I have, it's a great album. Skid Row,
self-titled.
Yeah.
I like the second one better.
I know.
I like the second one better, but it's not as much of a glam album to me.
Oh, agreed.
It's a harder edge to it, so it doesn't feel glammy, whereas this one does.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go next so that Matt can have the finale for this one. All right. So my big 4 glam albums, we have no crossover, Chris, which is amazing. But this, like I said, I expected this to be all over the place. All right. So my number 4 glam album is Great White's Twice Shy, the second in the series of the Once Bitten, Twice Shy. I just think there's some really good songs on it. The production is amazing on that album, and so that comes in at number 4. For number 3 for me is Kiss, Asylum. That was Kiss at the glammiest at that point. I mean, the neon colors, the iridescent shit that they were playing with, all the stuff that they were dressed with on stage. Tears Are Falling, Who Wants to Be Lonely? That's just oozing glam. Number 2, Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. I mean, to this day, my kids are singing Living on a Prayer. You Give Love a Bad Name. I mean, they're still singing these songs today. Adults are bringing it to the next generation. That's great. But that album is just awesome. I love Wanted Dead or Alive on that, Wild in the Streets. I mean, it's just a great album front to back. And for me, my number 1 glam album is Cinderella's Night Songs. That debut album from Cinderella, from 1 to 10, I can listen to that album all day long. It's just great. So there you have my big 4. Matt, you got the finale on this one. What do you got?
And like you said, nothing really matches. We're all over the place with this. I'm going to go number 1 through 4. Number 1.
Well, no, you got to go back 4 to 1.
I can't flip things up and do it my way. All right, number 4. Damn it. Number 4, Dean, I'm going to go with the Bullet Boys. I'm going to go with their first album. I know you hate them. I know I like it. To me, it's just another Ted Templeman. He went from Montrose to Van Halen, and now he's spitting out another one. It's not the greatest. It's glam. It's loud. You got 4 members playing their stuff, overproduced. It's fun. I like the album. Number 3, I've got Look What the Cat Dragged In from Poison, 1987, Glam Metal's #1 album. Do I need to hear it again? No, but the sound on that album is just so glam. I mean, you look at the cover, there's nothing, there's nothing else to say. You look at it, you know what you're buying, or you leave on the shelf. Number 2, I'm going to go with Wake Me When It's Over from Faster Pussycat. I love that album. It's probably my top 20 albums of all time, believe it or not. It's Faster Pussycat going blues. Great production on it. Elektra put a lot of money and a lot of production behind, a lot of resources behind it. I thought that one came out great. Number 1, Too Fast for Love. It's my #1 Motley album. I'm going to say it's my #1 Glam album. So that's my list for you.
Cool. I actually, Faster Pussycat, I would have picked the first album because that's so much sleazier than the second one. But I didn't even think about it when I thought it. Because if I had seen that in there,
the songwriting on the second one's so much better.
It's better, but the first one is so sleazy.
Oh, it is. It is a great album.
All right.
12 completely different albums.
Yes, 12. That's a first. We've done 8, and we've had 8 different ones, but it's typically the category. And in this particular case, it was a category that's big, wide, and varying as this one. Definitely. But I was surprised that we didn't have one crossover.
And actually, my list was 7 songs, and I still didn't cross over to anything.
All right. Well, that's our big 4 glam albums, and that brings an end to this special 100th episode of Debating Metal. And I want to thank Matt for making a special trip to Houston to join us for this anniversary episode.
Guys, thanks for having me out here. It's been great. Congratulations on your first 100. I look forward to being here for the second 100.
I appreciate that. So, everyone else out there, please don't forget to tell your friends about us and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
And don't forget you can interact with us by commenting on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can send us a DM as well. If you listen to us on YouTube, be sure to leave us a comment, or if you want, send us an email to debatingmetal@gmail.com. And remember to tune in to the next episode where we spark up another exciting metal debate. On behalf of Kenneth, Matt, and myself, stay safe and always turn it up to 11.
See ya.